Okay, all right. So our title for today is on the screen. It is Building a Spiritually Mature Relationship with God. So today is about the rhythm of the daily office, okay, out of Daniel 6. So last week we talked about how God can often use grief and loss and difficult things to make our souls bigger so that we can have more of God in us. That often grief and loss and hardship and suffering and struggle, what that does is it purges all of the gucky stuff out of our souls and really makes us realize what's most important. I am in my early 30s, and I think it should be illegal to still get pimples, and yet I do, okay? I feel like it's not fair because I should be past the age where I still get acne, But I'm blaming it on the masks. But anyway, so I've recently discovered, it's been around forever, but I recently discovered, those pimple stickers, the circle ones? Those are magic, you guys. So the key is to poke a little hole with the sanitized needle so that there's a little bit of an opening, and then you put that bad boy on your face, and then you sleep on it. Freaking tastic. In the morning you take it off, and it's gross. There's all this white stuff on there. It's sort of gross and gratifying, and then it's totally flat. It's amazing. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So that's kind of what that's like. That's what that reminds me of. God uses suffering, the poke in the hole, okay, that kind of hurts a little bit, and slaps that bad boy on to suck out all of the gunk in our souls, the hardships we face, so that we could be emptied of all those gucky things, so that we can actually be filled by God. But what does it look like? What does it feel like? What is it like to be filled by God? That's the next step for these next 2 weeks, okay? So we're going from, let's pull all the gucky stuff out, let's pull the white pussy stuff out, and then we're going to go into how do we be filled by God's presence now. So this week and next week is going into some of the practicals of how do I actually build a spiritually mature relationship with God. So we were gone this last week, right? Okay. Do you guys want to know how to be my child's best friend? Not that you want to, but if you want to, do you know how to do it? It's so easy. If you go on a flight somewhere, you know those snack bags they pass out to you, the pretzel, whatever? That's his favorite thing right now, okay? I swear, he just loves pretzels or the snack bags from that airline's brand. I'm like, I can buy you pretzels from the grocery store, but he doesn't like those. He wants the Southwest, American Airlines snack. That's what he wants. So we got home yesterday, and he was the first thing he said, he didn't say, hi, Mommy, I missed you. He said, Mommy, where's my snack bag? Where's my snack bag? Because there was 2 of you and 2 flights, so there should be 4 of them. So where are my 4 snack bags? So when kids are young, right, we have that kind of relationship, right? It's a give. It's really just a give. There's no take, for me. I just give to him. And one day, hopefully, eventually, he'll love me too. He does. But he'll give back, hopefully one day, maybe not, but who knows. But it's kind of a one-way, more of I'm giving more than he's giving, right? And at 4 years old, that's normal, okay? Now, at 40, is that normal? I swear to the good Lord, I hope not. I hope that is not our relationship when he's 40, okay? But the point is, the older we get, the more there is a give and a take. There's a more mature relationship, right? And so how then can we have more of a mature relationship with God as we get older? So the key from the title today, the key word in our title is the word rhythm. Rhythm is the key word. So when I say rhythm, what I mean by rhythm is the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, the starts and stops, an ocean has a rhythm, right? The waves come in, the waves come out, okay? So there's a rhythm to life, things that are up, things that are down. But our culture, it only knows one pace. Go. That's the only pace we know in this culture, okay? Go, 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 go. Did you guys know the word, I didn't know this is a fun fact. The word or the phrase 24/7, we say it all the time, right? 24/7, I'm busy, 24/7, this or that. 24/7, that concept did not exist until the 80s. Before then, that didn't exist. Of course, there were 24 hours in a day and 7 days a week before then, but that concept of something or someone going and going for 24/7. That didn't exist until the 80s. Like, this is a modern phenomenon, this idea of like, go, 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 go. And so when we look at our culture, oftentimes, I think most people are very distracted. Who's done this where like, you're going, and then you're like, oh, I gotta eat. And so you eat something, and then like, you didn't even realize you ate it. You know what I'm talking about? Like you're going so fast, like that you just like eat on the go, or like, you don't even realize what you ate, and you already ate it. Or like, we're just always going, going, going. So our culture is defined by this like distracted, hurried pace of life. So how would you define our culture? So everyone, pull out your phones. We're going to do a word cloud, because I love those. But I want to find out, and I think everyone gets like 3 times you can do it. But let's see if it's on the screen. So, they have to do a little finagling in the back. Oh, here we go. Okay, so go to menti.com, and type in the code, which is up there at the front. If you can't see it, you need glasses. Okay, just kidding. I need glasses. I need glasses. So if I was sitting like where Christian and Jack are, I can't see that very clearly. 8065-4554. Okay? So what word describe our culture? Like, how would you describe the culture that we live in today? I don't mean like Korean culture, or you can, but like society in general, at large in our world. Just, you can type in, I think, up to 3 different responses. But what would you describe? Like, what is it like to live as a college student? What is it like as a young professional? What is it like to be hurried? Oh, sorry. Whatever it may be that you describe it. Just press enter and see what comes up. There's 2 different sides, so. All right, expensive, okay. Expensive, stress, yes. Our society is so stressful. It is very true, okay. Oh, expensive. Yeah, we're coming into inflation season. So yesterday, we went to the car wash. You guys know the one off Quincy and Parker? Dutch something? $7.99. It is $9.99 now. Like $2 increase. It's crazy. Okay, so let's see. Crazy, busy, sad, frustrated, wild, opinionated. Yeah, that's true. No one put divisive. That's like totally our culture right now. Crazy, expensive, capitalistic, ignorant. Wow, you guys are like very smart. The cancel culture, yeah, that's true. I think there are also some others joining online. Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds. Apparently crazy is like really, really big. Okay, passion, sad. All right. Okay. So, yeah, it looks like we live in a world that drives all of us crazy a little bit, or it's stressful. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So click next. I think that's how it works. Okay, so this is the last one. But what words would you use to describe having a personal relationship with God? So in contrast to our culture and our world, that's crazy, opinionated, stressful, frustrating. What does that look like? Can we keep it live on the back too? Thanks. Okay, so what words would you use to describe what is it like to have a relationship with God, to know God, to live for God? What does that feel like? What does that sound like? What's different about that? All right, so once you put your words in, you can just enter it, and you could think about it for a little bit. I do see more heads thinking for this one. Frustrating sometimes, okay? What are some others? Overwhelming, good, sad, hopeless, breathable, calming. So we have actually a really, what's the word, like 2 extremes coming out here. So some people who are saying that it's overwhelming, confusing, frustrating, difficult. Others where it's an escape, it's safe, it's breathable, it's calming, it's good. We have 2 different extremes. And what ties them together is the word interesting, which is interesting. think this is interesting because I think this shows us that there's a whole scope of experience. Right now, we're taking the snapshot where you are right now, how you would describe your relationship with God right now. And yet, if you look at all of the words, some of you don't know what it's like. Some of you feel like it's mandatory. Some of you feel like it's reassuring. So we're all in different places in this room today. But what's interesting is that nobody said breathable to describe our culture. And yet somebody put breathable to describe being with God. Or nobody used the word safe to describe our culture, right? Nobody. And yet somebody here used the word safe to describe what it's like with God. Okay, thank you guys. So, the truth is that in the midst of our lives today, if we can close that slide. So the truth is, in the midst of our world today, where it's crazy, confusing, stressful, frustrating, nobody used the word safe. Nobody used the word good. There are good things in our culture too, yeah. But in the midst of that kind of world that we live in, if you and I don't have a deep connection with God, we're going to get lost in that shuffle, lost in the stress, lost in the craziness. Do you guys know the idea of, can you just imagine living your whole life hustling, and you wake up one day and you're like, what am I doing this all for? I think that's why people have midlife crises, because it feels like, what did I do all of this for? What is the whole point? Who has ever been on a treadmill before? Who's been on a treadmill? Or an elliptical, that kind of, okay? So I have one on my house, a treadmill. And when you're running on it, can you just hop off? I mean, you can, but it's probably not the safest choice, okay? You can hop off, but you know when you come off a treadmill, if you've been on it for a long time, and you kind of feel like the ground is still moving under you, even though you're stopped, right? Or you're on it and you hop off, and that's really not the safest way to do it, okay? So the thing is, when you're going like that on the treadmill, something has to stop, right? You know that safety button that's on there that if you fall back, it stops the whole machine, and it stops the whole machine for you. We need a stop, the red stop pulley thingy. We need that in our lives. The only way to break free from this crazy hamster wheel cycle of stress and running is that we need a break. We need a stop. We need a pause. And today and next week, we're going to talk about 2 things that help us to do that stop, to help us to do that break. Realizing I cannot keep living every day like this hamster wheel hustle. I need to have some way to be deeply connected to God. Otherwise, I won't be able to breathe in this life, and I'm going to slowly die. So the first thing we'll talk about this week is something called the daily office. So I'll explain this. It's you're like, what? I'll explain this. It's called the daily office. Okay? Can we all see that? Cool. Awesome, okay? And then next week, we'll talk about the Sabbath, okay? So that's for next week. So Sabbath is next week, daily office is this week. So the word office, who knows? The word office comes from the Latin word opus, which means work, which is why we go I'm going to go into the office, I'm going to go work. It kind of has that concept, right? So office means work. And way back in the day, in the early church, they would call it the daily office, which basically means the daily work of God. And so the idea is not I'm doing more or striving more, but the idea of the daily office is that my first job, my most important work that I do in my life is to seek God, okay? So that's what daily office means, is that no matter what your job is, whatever work you guys do, so most of you in this room, your work is to be a student. That's your most important work, right? That's where all your time goes. Or if you're working, that's your work, right? That's your 40-hour-a-week work week or whatever it may be. For most of us, that can change. You probably won't be in the same job your whole life. No one does that anymore, right? You won't be in your same work. But the idea of the daily office is that your first and most important work is to seek God. So no matter what you do for a living, your first and most important work will never change. Does that make sense? Your first and most important work that you're made to do is to seek God, to know God, and be known by God. I'm going to say it again because it's that important. The most important work you ever do in your life and the most important work of your everyday is to seek God and to know God and to be known by God. So no matter where you go or what you do or who you're with, that daily office, that important work will never change. There's a verse in Psalm 27, verse 4 that captures this heart really well. It's King David. King David was busy. He was a freaking king, and not just a king, but in that day they had to go fight. He was the commander of all the armies of Israel. He was a politician. He was a diplomat. He was the leader of this whole country. He did a lot of stuff. He was a very busy man. He was a father to many kids. He was a husband to several wives. So, he was very, very busy. And yet, he describes it in Psalm 27:4 in this way. And it says this in that verse. Can we have that verse come up, please? Can we have that verse come up? Is it up on the back also? Okay, here we go. The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. Okay, the one thing I seek the most is to be with God, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in his temple. He's saying the most important work, better than being a king, better than being a husband or a father or a commander of an army or the greatest leader in the world, the most important thing I want to do is to seek God and to know him and to be with him. So daily office is not like, most of us have grown up with QT, right? Like quiet time or devotionals or that kind of thing. Those things are good, okay? But oftentimes those things feel like a checklist, right? Those things feel like, I have to do this. And there are times when it is good to be trained to do some things discipline-wise, right? Like when you're a student, you just have to do your homework. I'm sorry, there's no other way around it. You just have to. You have to turn things in, you know? You don't like to do it, but it teaches you good skills, right? So those things are important. But the daily office concept of me seeking God and knowing God, it can't become something that's like a task. Does that make sense? The daily office is being with God, not doing for God. Okay? Let me say it again. The daily office, the idea of my job, my first job in my life is to be with God, not do for God or get from God. Okay? My first role is to be with him. When you're with a really, really good friend, I'm talking a really good friend, someone that you can just be with them. You don't have to do a whole lot. You don't have to talk about a lot. You can just be with them, and it feels good. You know what I'm talking about? Your boyfriend or girlfriend or your husband or wife or a really good friend of yours or a parent that you're really close to, you can just sit with them in the car going somewhere. You don't have to do anything, and you just feel safe and known. You know what I'm talking about? That's the idea. I just want to be with him. I don't have to do all this stuff. I'm not trying to get something out of you. I'm just trying to be with you. That's what daily office is. So, we're going to look at Daniel 6 because he's a really good example of someone who practiced the daily office. So, the context for Daniel is that when he was a young teenager, probably 15, 16, 17, he's taken out of his country. He's literally kidnapped out of his country and taken to Babylon. And Babylon represents the world, okay? So the worldliest, worst of the worst, okay? So all of the things opposite of what they were supposed to do. So our culture today is often like Babylon, you know? It's everything anti-God, the thoughts, the belief system, the education, everything is anti-God, okay, nowadays. And so that is what Babylon is like. So Daniel gets to Babylon, and they're doing everything they can to make him Babylonian. They even give him a new name because they don't want him to be an Israelite. They want him to be a Babylonian. And so Daniel is there, and after all these years, he begins to grow in great power. So Babylon is working so hard to make Daniel like Babylon, but somehow Daniel manages to stay separate. He's still in Babylon. He's working at like the highest, I think they call him like Secretary of State. That's like the equivalent of his title. Like he's super high up there in government. And yet he's there in Babylon and not one of them though. So what does he do that makes him separate and able to stay alive in his relationship with God? So by the time we get to chapter 6, we see that Daniel is so good at what he does, and his coworkers are super jealous. Who's ever been in a very toxic work relationship, like a work environment, okay? Who's ever been in a toxic work relationship? Not fun, okay? People are jealous. People are, like, catty. They're, like, tattling. It's, like, really bad, okay? So Daniel finds himself in a really toxic work environment where all of his coworkers are trying to find something wrong with him to throw him under the bus, okay? But you know what's funny is they're hunting and hunting to find dirt on Daniel, but they can't find anything. The only thing they find is that Daniel 3 times a day goes and prays. That's the only dirt they can find on Daniel. And so they take that and they're like, oh, great, let's use that. They go to the king and they're like, hey, yo, what's up? Here's the thing. So, like, let's make this rule, okay? You're the king, you're amazing, right? Like, they're stroking his ego like every stupid politician does. Like, they're like, okay, let's stroke your ego. And you know what? Let's make this law that nobody can pray to anybody else but you because you're the most amazing king. And he's like, I am the most amazing king, sure. But the thing is, in that kingdom, in the Persian kingdom, they cannot ever revoke their law. So even the king who signs a law, he can't even veto his own law, okay? So he signs it, and it goes into effect. And they're like, yes. And so then it gets announced, here's the new law. Nobody can pray to anybody else but to the king. So here we are in verse 10. Alrighty, verse 10. But when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, what did he do? He went home and hid? No. He went home and knelt down as usual in his upstairs room with its windows open. He's like, yo, that was the law? Great. I'm going to leave the door open like I usually do so y'all can see me praying, okay? And he's like, he prayed 3 times a day just as he had always done, giving thanks to his God. That's crazy. This is the law that can get you killed right away. And he's like, all right, let's do this. Same thing as usual. 3 times a day, going into his like room, opens the window so everyone can see, and he's praying, thanking God. For what? I don't know. Maybe he's like, thank you, Jesus, for, or Jesus, okay, thank you, God, for like, I don't know what he's thanking him for, because this law can kill him, but he's thanking him. What kept Daniel separate and apart from this tidal wave of anti-godness that ruled over Babylon? All we see, 3 times a day, he prayed to God. He spent time being with him. He was busy, guys. He was like one of the top people in the government. He was a busy man. And yet he stopped 3 times a day intentionally to pray and spend time with him. And we see in that verse that he knelt down. There's something about kneeling down, about your posture, right? That says a lot about what you think about God. If you ever prayed like standing up or like sitting in a chair, that's good too. God, okay, honestly, guys, God hears every prayer, right? But if you've ever knelt and prayed, there's a different feeling to that. You know what I'm talking about? Like a different feeling to like lying down before God and praying. And that's what Daniel did. So what happens in verse 11? They're like, perfect, we found it, okay? So verse 11, it says this. Then the officials went together to Daniel's house. Wow, they're so mean. And they like found him praying and asking for God's help. So in verse 12, what do? They run right back to their king. What do they say? In verse 12, it says this. Did you not sign a law that for the next 30 days, anyone who prays to anyone else except to you will be thrown into the den of lions? So even with the threat of his death on his own life, Daniel does not waver in spending time with God. So, of course, we go on and find out that he gets thrown into the den of lions, and God miraculously closes their mouths of all the lions. So he just, like, kind of hangs out with lions for the whole night, and he doesn't get hurt. In the morning, he's totally fine. And so he gets pulled out, and the officials who trapped him, they get thrown in, and the minute, like, it's in the Bible, while their bodies were still in the air, the lions, like, and just like killed them all, okay? It's pretty crazy. So today in our day, we don't have the threat of lions killing us most of the time, okay? But we can still very easily be caught up in the anti-God culture all around us all the time. So how can we practice the daily office like Daniel did? Here's what I want to highlight. The purpose and the goal of the daily office is to stop. That's the thing. Stop. At whatever point you decide, stop in your day and remember God so that the rest of the day, all throughout the day, you can remember God. The heart of the daily office is to surrender and trust in God. It's not about how long you do it. It's not about how often you do it. It's not like, oh, I am holier than everyone else because like I did this twice a day. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much time, how often. That's not the point. Okay. The point is that you set something in your heart that you're like, I want to do this. I want to wake up each morning, and the first thing I do is to like seek God for 5 minutes, and that's what it is. If that's what you decide for yourself, the point is that you stick with it. And not of the, I'm just trying to do it, but like, I want to do this. Or it's like the end of my day, before I go to sleep, I want to spend a few minutes in God thanking Him, whatever it is, or like at lunch, whatever you decide to do. The point is not what you do. It's the heart of why you're doing it. That's what counts. And so for everybody, it could be different. For some person, it's like, I want to go out and walk in nature, and that's how I'm going to spend time with God. Or I'm going to, like, whatever it is, X, Y, Z. Everyone has a different way that, like, just think about, okay, close your eyes right now, everybody, and think about the best place, like the safest, like the best place for you. Like, what is it? Is it the ocean? Is it the mountains? Is it sitting in your bed? Like, whatever is your safe place, okay, open your eyes. Not that you can always go there, but, like, that's what that feeling that I want. Does that make sense? Like, where you are like, I'm with God. I want to be with God. This is what I want to do. Like, I want to go there. I want to be there with that person. That's what daily office should feel like. So although the practicals can look different for each person, there are 4 things that make a daily office, okay? So let's go over those 4 things. Number 1 is stopping. The most important thing is stopping, okay? Can everyone stand up and line up in the back, like right here, like in the middle of the back? Okay, everyone stand up. Where Ayang is, kind of go to the back, okay? Okay, so kind of get into like a line. So sorry, live stream, you can't do this, but you can do it in your own room, I guess. Okay. All right. So who's played red light, green light? All of us. Okay. What is the point of red light? The point of red light, green light is to stop, right? If you don't stop, what happens? You go back to the beginning, okay? So first person going to me, I'll give you whatever you want, within reason, within $20 reason, okay? So, okay, ready? Green light. Wow, y'all are real slow, green light. Nobody wants a prize. Nobody wants. Red light. I heard a shoe. Okay. Green light. Red light. Yellow. I'm just kidding. Red light. Oh, I have to go back. Okay. Sorry, Ayang. Okay. Green light. Red light. Oh, man, she's getting really close. All right, green light. You moved, red light. Just kidding. Wait, now you actually did move. Okay, green light. Okay, Aaron. All right, so the whole point, Aaron, you get a prize for me afterwards. So the whole point of green light, red light is to what? It's to stop, okay? If you don't stop, like our sweet Ayang, then you have to go back, right? So the idea is, you cannot do time with God unless you stop, okay? This is the hardest one for me to do out of all of them. It's really hard for me to stop, personally, as a person. I'm like really type A. I'm like go, 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 go. And so I'm the kind of person that I don't know how tired I am until I stop. You know what I mean? Like, I can run for hours. Well, not actually running. I hate running. But, like, I can run during the day for hours and not know that I'm tired until I sit and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm exhausted, you know? That's my personality. For others, it's different. It's like maybe you have a hard time going, okay? Or, like, whatever it may be. The point is that we have to intentionally stop. Not, like, just sit and be a veggie, but, like, to actually, like, intentionally stop, okay? The most important thing is that your time with God, your daily office, is unhurried. That's the most important thing. It's unhurried, okay? Like, when you feel like, oh, I got to go to work in like 5 minutes, maybe not the best time to do a daily office, okay? Then do it at night. Like find practical ways where you are unhurried in your day, where you can try to find a moment where you're not hurried, okay? Maybe some of you wake up really early right now, and so you have time in the morning. And so that's your time of like, I'm going to have unhurried time with God, okay? Whatever it is, the point is it's unhurried. You stop. Number 2 is centering. So being present, like getting into God's presence. How many of you guys have ever tried to pray to God and you're like, all right, I'm going to pray. And you're like, okay. There's like so many distractions, right? Like centering, like bringing your mind. How many of you, your body is here right now, but your mind's somewhere else? Raise your hands, okay? Okay, your mind is somewhere else. Like, or you're in class, or you're at work, and your body is doing all the things, but your brain is somewhere else. You know what I'm talking about? Like, all of us can do that, okay? Like, you're talking to your, like, mom, but your brain is somewhere else, okay? That's not what we want. We can do that with God, too. We're like, I'm going to pray, Jesus, thank you for this day. And we get into a habit, but our brain is somewhere else. The idea of centering is your brain and your mind and your heart and every part of you becoming one before God, okay? Like, bringing your mind and your heart before God. That's what centering is, okay? Sometimes I do this where I'll breathe in, like, and then breathe out. And that helps me, like, settle in. Because when you're breathing, did you guys know when you're breathing like that? Okay, everyone breathe in through your nose. Don't do it with your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Okay, breathe in and breathe out. Okay, when you do that, like, when you are consciously doing that, your brain can't think about something else. That's physically how it works. That's why breathing like that helps you. Like, you know, athletes, there was this really great video I watched in a class of this CrossFit. You guys know, like, the CrossFit, like, leagues or whatever? It's like these, like, CrossFit, like, Olympics or whatever. And there's this dude, and he's doing, what's that thing where you lift it and you, like, I don't know. Someone help me out. Like, you, like, do something and you, like, drop it. I don't know. Okay, he's doing that. I should find the video. He's doing that, and he has a certain amount of time to do it in, okay? This is the last thing he has to do, and then he's going to win if he makes this. And so you see the timer going down. It's like 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and he keeps trying to do it, but he can't. It's not working. And, like, everyone's stressed out. Like, the whole crowd is freaking out because he has, like, 10 seconds left. And what you see is the crowd is going crazy. And what you see is this guy, he sits down on the, like, huge weight thing, whatever it is. He sits down. And I'm like, why are you sitting? You have 10 seconds left. Like, you need to go. But he sits down, and you see him breathing. You see him, like, and then with 5 seconds left, he, like, does this whole thing. It's crazy. And then it's, like, perfect. But the whole idea is, like athletes, performers, like, they do what they do for a reason. It brings your whole body into focus. We can do that, too. That's what we can do, to, like, focus your attention on seeking God and knowing him, bringing your whole self into God's presence. I love these two verses. Psalm 37:4 or 37:7. It says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him." Sometimes I'll use these kind of verses. Like, on the Bible app, you can, like, do like an image, you know, and I'll just save that image to my phone and I'll use that. Or sometimes on my phone screen, I'll, like, save the, like, lock screen as that image. And so, like, I'm always reminded of that. So, like, there's practical things you could do, but the whole point is to bring your whole self, mind, body, heart, spirit, soul, into God's presence. This is my favorite verse, Psalm 46:10. This is my verse for this year. It's, "Be still and know that I am God." It's so simple. It's so easy. but this is so hard to do. And so I'll often use this verse, and I'll pick a verse for the year. Every year I do this. I pick a word and a verse, and that's my verse for that year. And that's my verse for this year, actually, to remind myself to be still before God. Okay, number 3, the other really important element. The third element, it's silence, okay? So, yes, God can be with you in every moment. I've been in, like, the craziest, loudest places, and I can, like, feel God's presence. Or, like, a really amazing, like, worship time. It's loud, right? But you can feel God's presence. But during the daily office, one of the key elements is silence. Because oftentimes, silence helps us to realize that we are way more distracted than we realize. How many of you know when there's silence, you know when there's someone speaking, or like a teacher speaking, and there's silence? What do? Some of you did it right now. Some of you are like, oh, this is so... Some of you made like, don't make eye contact with her, don't make eye contact with her. Some of you are like, oh, this is so awkward. Some of you are like fidgeting, like moving some stuff. Nobody looked at their phones. That was kind of amazing. Most of us, when we're uncomfortable, what do? Look at our watch, look at our phones, look away, like fiddle. We'll like fiddle with things. We'll like twit, kind of move around, look at somebody else. Like we're doing everything we can to avoid how awkward the silence is, how awkward it is. Like most of us are not really good with silence. I think everybody almost. The greatest antithesis to silence is distraction, and we all have them. How many of you have ever been in a place where you're like, okay, I'm going to pray to God right now? And you're like, okay, I'm going to like be really good. I'm going to close the door, turn my phone off. I'm like super holy right now. I'm going to pray, okay? And you're like, shoot, did I change the laundry? Or like, oh yeah, I need to get cotton pads for my face. Okay, I'll add that to the list. Like, okay, pray. Wait, what am I praying about? Like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of that one book that I read, like that one movie. Like, oh, I need to see that. Oh, that song is so, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, that happens to all of us, okay? Like, that's how hard it can be sometimes because we are so not used to doing this, sitting before God in silence. There were monks way back in the day who were like, we're going to escape all of the city and the craziness and go into the desert, into caves to know God more. And so they like left the city, went into caves literally to seek God, and they often find that you can run away from the outside distractions, but you know what's worse than outside distractions? The inside distractions. We all have them, the inside distractions. Now, the more you do this, the more you realize those distractions are not the enemy. Just let them come and go. You're like, I'm going to have them. It's okay. Okay? The point is for me to continue to try to seek God no matter what and continue to press in like, oh, I wonder why I have those distractions. What am I hiding? What am I running away from? Am I like doing this to run away from God? Ooh, that's a good thought. Like, you know what I mean? Like anything that happens can be used to help you to bring you closer to God if you ask the right questions, okay? So don't beat yourself up if you have distractions. If you don't have any, that's weird, okay? Because everyone's going to have distractions that like stop you from like seeking God. The thing is to actually just press through that. The last thing is Scripture. So stopping, centering, silence, and Scripture. Scripture helps us to really like think the right direction, okay? So here's the rule of thumb. If you don't so a lot of people use like the Psalms as their like daily office thing. That's great. Use it. If you don't like it, find something else, okay? It's okay. The rule of thumb is if you don't like it, it's not helping you, then switch. Do something else. We're not locked into like you have to do this Bible like thing. It's okay. Like, as a group, we do certain things. That's different. But for your own personal goal and benefit, if it doesn't work, switch it. We all go through different seasons. There are times when journaling was really good for me. It doesn't work right now. I just don't have the capacity for it. So every season, different things will work. You guys know when you do a workout, well, I don't know, this is me. But when I do a workout program, I'm kind of get stuck in a rut. I have to switch things up. And changing it actually helps me to be more excited about it, right? So switch things up with God. If this kind of prayer doesn't work, try something else. It doesn't matter what you do. The heart is, why do you do it? You do this knowing I cannot survive in this life without having a deep relationship with God. So what can I do? How can I do it to get to that deep relationship with God? Does that make sense? So that reminds me of, I think I've showed you guys this before. It's called the Golden Circle. I think I have, right? Okay. Simon Sinek, TED Talk, really great. So kind of old one, but it's really good. So his whole idea is the power of the why. It's he used Apple as an example, but good companies, they don't just sell things. They know why they make it. And that's good that's applicable to all of us. Why do you do what you do? You all have a why. Right now, why you're at church, you all have a reason. Maybe it's not a great one, but you have one, okay? Or why do you go to college? Or why do you go to high school? I mean, because you should. But, why? Why are you trying to do well in school? Who needs to get an A? You don't have to get an A. You guys all know that, right? It's just a letter. It can mean awful. You know what I mean? You don't have to do what you do. You don't have to work. You don't have to do this and that. But why do you do what you do? All of us have a why. And so my question to you is your why for what you do in life, everything you do in life, why do you do it? And is that why something that's eternal? Is it something that's really, really life-changing and important? Or is it shallow and surface? All of us have both of those. We all have shallow surface reasons for why we do things. We all do because we're human. But the point is, can you live your whole life on a shallow why? No, you can't. Why do you do what you do? Why do you love and serve your family? Why do you do this and that? There's lots of things, but why do you do it? Refine that why. Make that why something eternal. And that's the point I want to make, is why do you want to have a relationship with God? Some of you today in your cloud, your survey input, you put frustrating, or it's hard to seek God. What I want to tell you, for those of you who put something like that, I want to commend you because you're here, or on the live stream. You're still here. Do you know how hard it is to be in a place where you feel frustrated about something, but you're still here? You're still showing up. You're still wanting and willing to push through that frustration, knowing and trusting, hey, there's got to be something on the other side of this. If everything was good and happy, would you really, really, really have all of your heart and all of your being staked on this relationship with God? No. If it was easy, it would be cheap. Do you know what I mean? If it was easy, it would be cheap. It wouldn't be something worth giving your life for. It wouldn't be something worth dying for. And maybe through this season of frustration, or it's hard in a relationship with God, maybe God's refining that in you so that you can have that stronger relationship that's not cheap. For those of you who are in a season where it's safe and it's good, yes, that's so, so good. And know that there's still more. There's still more to know about God. There's still more that God wants to refine on your heart about why you do what you do. So today's questions, let's throw them on the screen. This is with your small group. And whether or not you do it with your small group, I want you to think about this for yourself for this week. Truly. Even if you don't share it, I don't care. The point is, I want you to think about it. And it's going off the 3 circles of why. The first thing is why. Why do you want to build a spiritually mature relationship with God? Why? Because part of what it means to grow up as a Christian is to find your own relationship with God. Not just your parents, not just your youth pastors or whatever, but your own. That's what it means to be spiritually mature, is to find your own relationship with God. Find your own way. And this is part of it. Asking yourself, why do I want that? Why is my butt in this church? Why is my butt on this chair warming it up? Like, why am I here? There is a reason. And something has convicted your heart to be here. Even if it's history, that's okay. But refine that for yourself. Why do I want a spiritually mature relationship with God? And number 2, the next circle out from the why, okay, is how. How will you structure your day to stop and seek God? Because if you know why you want to do it, but you don't do anything about it, is it going to happen? No. But without the why, it's all surface. Do you see that? So the why is important. But once we grow out from the why, then how? How will you structure your day to stop and seek God? Know your own personality. Know what works for you in your schedule. Some of you here go to school every day. Some of you work every day. Some of you have a combination of both. Some of you, I'm a parent for like half of my day or half of my days. Like, all of us have different seasons. Different things will work for you. That doesn't matter. The point is, what will you choose to do to structure your day so you can find, maybe it's once a week. That's okay. It doesn't matter how often. The point is, are you willing to do that? To have that deep relationship with God. So why, how, and last one is then, this is the easy one. What will you do? What will you do? What works for you? Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's whatever it is. What is the one thing you can do to make this a reality? Again, it's not the specifics that count, but you do have to have your own thing planned. Of like, okay, that person is different from this person, it's different from me, but I have to know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to aim for this, and I'm going to try it for a week. Well, that didn't work. Okay, then I'm going to try a different time, because I'm not a morning person, so let's do nights. Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to find just what works. But the point is, you want to, like, why do you want to do it? We're going to close with this exercise. Nicole, can you get the lights for me? So the only way to practice this is to actually do it, okay? So I'm going to set my timer. So see, normally here, what happens? Normally, So Young plays piano, right? That's normally what happens. We cue the lights, we hit the music. In church, we have this rhythm, okay? But we're not going to do that today. Today, all of us, everyone, front, back, everywhere in the room, we're going to practice this. So if you need to move, that's okay. If you need to sit where you are, that's fine too. But find your space, okay? Get comfortable. Put everything down. Put your, like, pens down, your phones down. Like, breathe in. Can I have the slide up here in the back also, Teacher Esther, in the live? Yeah, in the live room. So if you're live streaming, I want you to do the same thing, okay? The timer's going right now. Everyone take a deep breath in and a deep breath out and settle your heart. If you want, you can look at this verse to help you. For the next 5 minutes, let's practice being still and silent before God. that was 5 minutes. What came up for some of you? What was it like? Maybe some of you, I don't know, maybe sometimes when I do this, I can fall asleep. Sometimes I get distracted. Sometimes it actually really helps. Whatever it was for you, or maybe you're like, I just heard all the car noises come back. Whatever it is, it's okay. The idea is that I'm going to quiet my heart of all the anxiety, all the worries, all the stress, that this world is just thrown all over me. Because if I can be stressed and tired and worried, I won't have the energy or the capacity to go to the one where I can get strength from. That's how the world works. And so it's being intentional. It's putting the stop button on that treadmill and saying, I'm going to stop. Because me running isn't going to actually fix the problem. It's me going to the one that I need as the source of my life. He's the one that sustains me. Stopping, centering, silence, and scripture. And using that throughout your day so that when you do that, you can remember him all throughout your day. Can I have the praise team come up? As you think about your why, I want you to really think about it. Why do I do this? And maybe it is the answer of, well, I grew up in church, or my parents kind of want me to come. That's okay if that's your why right now. And trusting and knowing that as we grow spiritually, that why is going to get tested because it can't remain that forever. It's okay to start there, but we're not going to end there. Maybe all the ups and downs, all the rhythms, it's to help you to own that for yourself, to know why you do that. Can we all stand? As we sing this song, this song is perfect for today. And it's talking about, Lord, here I come before you. I need you. Oh, I need you every hour. I need you. That is the heart of the daily office. My daily, most important work of my life is to seek you and to know you. So this is going to be our prayer today, is singing this song. And as you sing it to your God and declare it to be true. So let's sing it together.